Mr. President.
Agent Collins, come on in. When I became president, first thing I asked was about the secrets. Aliens. Who killed JFK? Out of everyone in my detail, you're the only one I really trust. I'd like to talk to you about the future.
You're about to be entrusted with top secret national security information. Should you wish to proceed, you will be one of the few privy to this information at this stage. Do you wish to proceed?
No, sir.
Definitely a very, very smart move.
Mr. President. Call it in. Our people only. Now.
I have a message from the president. He said if something should happen to him, I should find you.
Everything's gonna be looked at from here on out.
They're about to tell everybody that Cal died of natural causes. The president loved you. The relentless man. He never stopped.
Baby, I need you to do exactly what I ask right now.
My fellow Americans, you're aware of the situation we now face, and I want to tell you the truth.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, you do.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone, where we love talking about movies and more. Today, I have a TV review for you for the Hulu Original Series, Paradise. Before we get any further in this video, I want to ask you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about the plot. A security service team is tasked with safeguarding the President of the United States. This show was so surprising, so I actually didn't get a chance to watch this show, or rather, I didn't give myself time to watch this show until the first season had completely wrapped up. And I'm so glad that this show is getting a second season because it leaves you on a pretty big cliffhanger at the end of all of it. Now, I will warn you up front, I spoil things out the gate on my TV reviews. I'm not going to put up the usual spoiler banner. If you haven't seen Paradise, go watch the entire show, not just a few episodes. Go watch the entire show. It's only 8 episodes, so it's a pretty easy watch. Go watch all of that and then come back and watch my review. Now, if you're still around, remember, spoilers up front. I'm going to give away the plot. So thanks so much for sticking around. Let's get into it. So what was good about Paradise? Well, let's just start off with the cast. Sterling K. Brown is one of these actors. He's been around for a little while. He's always great in every performance I've seen of his, and this show is no different. He brings great depth to this character. He's a single dad. He's lost his wife, raising his 2 kids on his own. He's the top Secret Service agent to the President of the United States. First twist out of the gate, this show has twist after twist after twist. First twist out of the gate, the President of the United States, played by James Marsden, who is also quite good in this show, is dead. Somebody has killed the president, so now it's up to Sterling K. Brown to solve the murder of the President of the United States. So that's a big story point out the gate. We get further on into the show, realize that there's more to it than just the president being killed, and there's a bigger conspiracy happening here. Who's behind the killing of the president, and who's behind the entire population of what's left of the United States? Why are they in a dome in Colorado? There's about 25,000 people that are left surviving after a global catastrophe has hit the entire world. There's only about 25,000 people accounted for from the entire United States population living in a dome city, a dome neighborhood in the state of Colorado, in one of the mountains in Colorado. And so that's revealed at the end of the very first episode, and then we're just going on from there about the backstory of these characters, who these characters are, how did this whole thing come about, how did this global catastrophe happen, what caused it, how did all these people get here, and what led them to be in this dome city. And then at the end of the show, thankfully it doesn't leave us hanging season after season. We do find out who killed the president, why they did it, and we find out more about what's gone on with the conspiracy and what led to this whole city being built. And there's depth to these characters, even characters who you might see as the villain of the show. You're given reason as to why they have acted the way that they have, and there's more to it than just what's left on the surface in the first episode. So more is revealed episode after episode, more is peeled back, and it's good twist twist storytelling. It's not lazy writing. That's an issue I have with some stuff where it's trying to be like this big mystery. And in many cases, the mystery was more exciting than the answers you got to that mystery. And when you get those answers, you're like, oh, really? That's all it was? That's a little disappointing. That's not the case here in Paradise. I was actually pleasantly surprised with all of the twists and all the answers to those twists that we got. And I'm so excited to see where season 2 might go. Now, I gotta say, they did answer a lot of stuff that we had questions to in season 1. So that might be an issue going into season 2, is that have they answered all of the interesting and important stuff already? Why is there going to be a season 2, or why is there possibly going to be a season 3? That might be an issue for a later date, but as far as this season specifically, it all worked. I really liked the twists. It was really, really cool storytelling. The music was really good. I love the score to this show. So well done. And it's a very memorable score. It's one that really sticks with you. I can hear it in my head right now. I quite liked it, but the storytelling beats, I think the flashbacks, and many times when a story does flashbacks to push the story forward, sometimes the flashbacks can kind of drag the story down and you're kind of left going, this really isn't that interesting. Can we get back to the main plot already? But I feel like in this case, it really helped to elevate the story. And at times I liked what was going on in the flashbacks more than what was going on in the primary story. And that's nothing to drag the primary story down either, but I just thought it was just very good storytelling on all parts of the show. Specifically in episode 7, I believe, that episode is called The Day, and it chronicles the events of what happened on the day that led everybody to go into the bunker and leave the outside world. And so that episode is primarily all flashbacks. About 90% of that episode was flashbacks, and it was so entertaining, so thrilling, and although you know the outcome for these characters and where they're going, it's still gripping because you have that element of mystery as, why did it happen? What caused these characters to be in this situation? And as an audience member, you're kind of left going, I still don't necessarily want this to happen. I feel for all the characters that I know aren't going to make it, because only 25,000 people for the United States alone, that's all that made it to this dome society. So you're like, I feel for these characters. I get the chaos and the emotion of what would be going on with these people, because while I can't relate to the experience necessarily what they're going through, because we've never dealt with anything like this, so I can't relate to that element of the show specifically, but the character emotion, the drama, it's so entertaining, so gripping, and all these characters for the most part are flawed people. There's flawed elements to the majority of the characters that we're dealing with, especially the president, James Marsden's character, but then you get into what made this character the way that he was, and you kind of find some sympathy with him and the decisions that he made. At first you're like, why would he let so many people perish? And then you realize on the day of, he wasn't given the full story. He wasn't given the ability to make all of the decisions that he wanted to do, all the right decisions. He tries to make right decision after right decision, and you feel like as an audience member at the end of it, he did what he could, and he was just one man in the midst of many, many people and a really, really awful circumstance. So characters that you have sympathy for, characters that you think might go one way and go another, and it's a show that was so gripping, so entertaining. The twists worked, the plot worked, the acting was great. Sterling K. Brown was incredible in this show. Now, I will admit, I haven't seen a whole lot from him. I've seen him in a few roles here and there, but this is the biggest thing that I think I've watched of his, and my gosh, this guy is a standout in this role, and I can't wait to see him continue as this character into season 2, and I'm just so intrigued about what's to come. There's some elements from the show that remind me a lot of the Fallout show on Amazon, or the Fallout games, as far as how it happened, how they got into this society. Now, thankfully, nobody's getting experimented on in this dome society, or as far as I know, maybe that'll be revealed in season 2, we'll see. But this show has elements that remind me of Fallout, and that was such a great show too. And so it's kind of cool how you can have these mirroring elements of these two shows that are very different from each other. They're from completely different companies, but there are also some similarities between two shows that I really enjoy. But I just wanted to point that out. It reminded me a little bit of the Fallout show, and that's a show that I quite enjoyed. Just had to put that out there. But again, I really thought that the show was so good. If you haven't seen Paradise on Hulu, watch it right now before you get spoiled on it. This is not a show you want to be spoiled on. That's why I gave you the spoiler warning right up at the top of this video, because this is not a show you want to be spoiled on. I promise you, do yourself a favor right now and watch Paradise. What was mixed about Paradise? Now, I will say for the most part, the flashbacks worked. There were a few at the beginning that I thought were a little slow. I think it's about episode 2 and episode 3. Some of the flashbacks didn't quite work. They did drag it down a little bit, primarily because what was going on in the main story, in the present day story, was a little bit more interesting. That's just a minor nitpick though, because overall the flashbacks do work very well. One twist that didn't quite work for me was the Billy Pace twist. They really built him up as a character you're not supposed to trust. At the end, you can trust him. I get what they were going for there, but for me, it just didn't land very strongly, and I kind of thought that was kind of pointless to do that up at the start, kind of detracting from the rest of the story, focusing so much on him, trying to get you to mistrust him to such a degree that the character then dies at the end of that episode anyway. I think it was kind of all for nothing, and I wish that they hadn't quite done that, because they really detract from a lot of the other story that's going on. And I know why they did it, but it's not a decision that I completely agree with, and it's not a decision I wish that they had went with. But that's a minor nitpick for me. Again, this is a show that works for me overall, but in those elements, they just didn't quite come together as well as I think they could have. Now let's get on to the bad. I'm not going to say anything bad about the show. Let's just talk about the bad guy of the show. Let's go ahead and twist it. It's not the bad guy, it's the bad girl. Sinatra, she is a character that I can have sympathy for her because of the loss of her son, but then she continues to use her son as a crutch time and time again about the loss of her son, explaining that everything she's doing is for good because of what happened. You can see the villain aspect of this character, and at the end of the day, I have no sympathy for this character because time and time again, she uses her life experience as an excuse to all of the bad decisions that she has made, writing that off. That's good villain writing, but irritating to watch as an audience member. And is this character going to continue into season 2? Well, the character's not dead, so I'm going to say yes. She's just a character that I don't necessarily love to hate this character, but I think she's a pretty well-written villain. I'll give the show props for that. But one thing I really didn't like, and I'll just go ahead and say this now, is the Jane character as the bad guy you didn't see coming. It is the bad guy I didn't see coming for the majority of the episode where Billy died. But about halfway through it, you kind of saw it coming. Some of these twists that do work for the most part, there's a few that just kind of telegraphed a little too much. You kind of see them coming from a mile away. Some of them do work and some of them do catch you off guard. But that was one of them where at first it worked. In the first couple episodes, didn't even know that was a twist to be worried about. And then we get into that episode and I think they telegraph it just a little too much for it to be a surprise for the audience. And her as a villain, or at least a goon for the villain, I don't know if that quite worked for me. I'm gonna have to wait and see on that one for season 2. For the most part, really just minor nitpicks for me as far as what didn't work. For the most part, this show did work. So let's get into my final thoughts of Paradise. This show was very, very good. I quite enjoyed it, and I am very excited to watch season 2. I'm kind of disappointed that it's only 8 episodes because it was such a quick watch for me. I binged this show. I'd watch a couple episodes a day when I started watching it, and it was just done. So I kind of wish I had been watching it week to week. It was nice not having to wait week to week so I would get the next episode, but now it's already over. I wish I had more episodes to watch. So this show was very well done. The performances were outstanding. The storytelling was outstanding. The music was outstanding. A lot of great elements to this show. Not a perfect show. I do have some nitpicks, some things that draw it back for me, but it's a very promising first season, and I can't wait to see what they have for us in season 2. Incredible writing, incredible acting, great direction, great music. I have a lot of great things to say about this show, so if you haven't seen the show, do yourself a favor and watch Paradise on Hulu right now. If we're going to give the show a rating, it's got to be a 4.5 out of 5 or an A- on the letter scale. Again, if you haven't seen Paradise, do yourself a favor and watch it right now. If you have seen Paradise, go down in the comment section and let me know what you thought of the show. Now, I will say, don't spoil anything in the comments. I spoiled stuff here in the video, but for anybody that's just going down into the comment section, don't spoil anything down in the comments, please. Let's keep that a safe zone for the moment. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, before you go, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.